Welcome, everyone. My name is Caroline Colas, and I am the Senior Director of Health and Wellness at the Marlene Meyerson JCC Manhattan. Today, our Lunch and Learn is on the healing power of pets with Audrey B. Carlson. If 2020 has taught us anything, it is that none of us are exempt from tragedy, loss, or fear. Audrey Carlson lived through the tragic death of her daughter. While not everyone experiences that level of loss or pain, we all face difficulties, especially now. Audrey's healing journey took her behind prison walls to learn about forgiveness and love. She worked with children and animals, focusing on the fact that there is more good than evil in the world. She teaches us that we all have choices in how we respond to tragedy. At pivotal times in our lives, pets can become our furry angels, helping us heal, teaching us how to love unconditionally. Whether or not you have a pet, this conversation will show you how wagging your tail can help you learn to thrive in the face of hardship. A little bit about Audrey. She is a public speaker, a writer, and the founder of the Happiness Club in Hartford, Connecticut. She has a master's degree in holistic health and healing, and she established a foundation for the performing arts in her daughter's name. 4 years ago, she took the Certificate in Positive Psychology course, and as part of her final project, founded the Hartford Happiness Club. Her story is published in the books Love, Animals and Miracles by Bernie Siegel and Grief Diaries, Surviving Loss by Homicide by Linda Sheldon. Is that how I say her name? Please welcome to the call, Audrey. Audrey, I might have to unmute you. Let me just see. Yeah, I think I have to unmute you. There you go. Hi, I think you're okay. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm delighted to be here. I want to first thank Jim McInerney and, of course, Megan, who facilitated the segue for me to meet you and be a part of your Lunch and Learns, because I've been listening, actually, for some time, and the connections are, there are no coincidences, really. I mean, think about it. How I met Megan and Tal and Maria Serra were purely organic. I took a weekend course in authenticity here in West Hartford, Connecticut, about 7-8 years ago, because it's 7 years now that I took the program and got certified at Whole Being. Once I met Maria, I knew what I had to do. I knew that there was something more that I needed to layer on as being a lifelong learner. I knew that I wanted to grow and meet the people that we could navigate north together. How's that? And as a project at the end of your program for certification, you need to have what is called a culmination project. And I thought, and I said, my goodness, what am I going to do? What am I going to do? So I listened and quieted my mind to the tools that I already had in my toolbox, because we all know and trust that the answers we all seek come from within. And when we all struggle to find those answers, and we do, we go for a walk. You unplug, you go for a walk, and all the answers can be found in nature. So what did I find? I realized that meeting Bernie and studying with Bernie, I met his cohort and dear friend Lionel Ketchian, who's the founder of the Happiness Club. And these happiness clubs are free, operative word, free monthly meetings that are meeting much more than monthly now, given Zoom. And we're global. We meet weekly and monthly on the topics of positive psychology. So those that live pretty much anywhere right now, if they just jot this down and they write down the Happiness Club, they'll see that there's meetings anywhere and everywhere on particular topics that might resonate with you at this point in time in your life, or whatever you need. The second thing is, I realized that we didn't have a Happiness Club in Hartford, Connecticut, where I was working at the time. So I launched the Hartford Happiness Club 5 years ago, and it continues to grow. And now we're on Zoom. We meet the first Thursday of the month. And Lionel Ketchian is the founder. He has one in Woodbridge. Bernie Siegel, by the way, has one. He participates on Happy You on Monday evenings for anyone that wants to tap into that. And he has one on Fridays for people that are going through tough times. As for those that do remember, he founded ECAP, the Exceptional Cancer Program. So he still continues to help others. And what distinguishes Bernie Siegel from his cohorts is that if you email him and reach out to him, he'll get back to you. He will get back to you, and that is remarkable. So that being said, the Whole Being Institute helped me get to where I am today. And then, of course, I did my studies with Bernie at the Graduate Institute in Integrative Health and Healing, and one of the internships that I did was something called pet therapy, in a program in Wallingford with Soul Friends, where we worked with children and pets, kids that are going through tough times, and what they learned from the pets. And that was a separate program. So how I know the JCC? Well, that goes back some time ago when my daughter was in middle school, and she was playing basketball and got recruited to play basketball for Maccabi Tel Aviv through the JCC, and did her travels to Israel and continued to play through college, pro ball, and now doesn't play basketball professionally anymore, but we have a long history with the JCC. So the connections between the JCC and the Whole Being Institute and all the people that have come together, there are no coincidences. So I'm delighted to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And the Maccabi Games are amazing. They just really are amazing part of the JCC life and institution, and have helped so many kids and young people find their confidence, which is
right.
What we're all struggling to do a little bit in this world when we get hit time and time again, right, with different things. As you said in your opening, life throws us curveballs all the time. So you have a very beautiful story to tell. Why don't I let you just let us hear that story unfold right now?
Okay. Well, through the art of storytelling, what I'd like to share, what I know for sure, is the healing power of our pets, tapping all of us into all human emotions. When I don't know life without pets. I've had dogs my whole life, and growing up in the 50s, the dog du jour that didn't shed were poodles. So I've had 66 years of standard poodles, and my goodness, it's been truly a gift that keeps on giving, because I don't know about anybody else out there, we all continue to learn. So that being said, I learned firsthand a lot of the life's most powerful lessons to me 18 years ago when our daughter was tragically taken from us. These are lessons of tough love, letting go, and survival of the fittest. So you ask, how can this all be? Well, it all became very real to me when it all happened, because I was thrown into a world I didn't know. Now, here's the interesting thing. Here's how it all really began. I don't know how many of you out there remember a movie that was very profound, that really resonated with me to this day, and I can still actually remember it very, very clearly. It's called Born Free. It was written a long time ago, true story about the Adamson family, who basically adopted an orphan lion cub. They took that lion cub into their hearts, their homes, and they raised that little cub, Elsa, to be their pet. Well, Elsa grew to be a very big putty cat, and she used to kind of like wander off in Kenya, off of their property into a local nearby village, terrifying everybody because she had big teeth. You know, they thought they might be a lunch. Well, Elsa never hurt anybody. She just wanted to wander. Well, the local constable in the village came back to the Adamsons and said, listen, we got a problem. We got a big problem because people are scared to death. And the bottom line is, she is a wild animal. You've domesticated her. And what you need to do is teach her how to go back into the wild. And they said, you've got to be kidding. How are we going to do that? She doesn't even know how to catch her own food. He said, you have no choice. So here we go with our first lesson of tough love and learning how to let go. Understanding at the end of it all, it's survival of the fittest. Not much different than our lives right now in a time of uncertainty, always uncertainty, but particularly now. That being said, they let Elsa, every day they let her go a little bit further off the back end of the Jeep. But she kept running back. And I remember I don't think I was more than 10 years old. I remember crying my eyes out. I remember not understanding the emotions that I was experiencing, not understanding the pain, not understanding my crying, that a parent had to let their child go for always. How do you do that? I remember crying, and I remember not understanding the emotions I was feeling and not knowing how could I, as an adult, that I would have to experience the same emotions and have to learn the same lessons that the Adamsons did, letting Elsa go. That being said, the movie continues to go on. And at the very end of the movie, after several extended months of letting her go, Elsa, pretty much down to bare bones, almost starving to death, caught her first kill, and they knew she'd make it. They knew she was going to survive somehow. Would the predators get her? Maybe. They didn't know, but they had to trust the process. They had to trust that if she could have a first kill, she would survive. They made a vow to each other and to Elsa, in their own way, in their own language, that they would come back a year later and find her. A year later, they go back and spend a full week, fruitless week. They couldn't find her until the last day. And it wasn't until the last day that they were absolutely exhausted and depleted, thinking she was gone. George, the husband, let off his rifle, shot up into the sky, the gunshot that Elsa knew. And there she was at the top of the mountain with her cubs and her mate. Now, here's the powerful story that we all need to pay attention to. It's called love. At the end of the day, nothing else matters because love is eternal. It is forever. It is buried in our souls. Elsa came down from the top of that mountain with her cubs, and she played with them. They frolicked. They played as if a day hadn't gone by. The music comes on. John Williams wrote the song, Born Free. We all know the song. I'm not going to sing. You'll hang up on me. The music came on and they played, and the sunset came down in the movie, and her male mate let out a giant roar. Elsa said goodbye. But they were connected forever through love, you see. So one of the first and most important lessons I learned back then, even though I couldn't wrap my whole head around it emotionally, was the power of love. And that is unconditional love. Our pets teach us how to love unconditionally. They don't know judgment. They don't care who you are, what you look like, where you live, how much money you have in the bank, what your preferences are sexually or politically. They don't give a hoot. They only know love. They love criminals. They love anybody. There is a poem that Bernie Siegel shared with me. It's called Rags. You can look it up. It will rip your heart out, but it teaches another powerful lesson, which is forgiveness. The poem is about Rags, a dog that is hurt and pretty much hanging on by a thread of life and does die by a man who hurts this dog. And just before the dog dies, he licks the hand of the person that kills him to say, I forgive you. Now, these are lessons that we don't learn every day, and certainly we don't abuse our animals. But what I'm trying to say is this: unconditional love is the biggest and most important lesson. The second lesson is forgiveness. Our dogs, they forgive you. You forget to feed them on time, you forget to give them a treat, you know, sometimes we neglect them, we're absent from them, but they respond to you the same way. They just love you. Example, you leave the house for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes. They give you the same response when you come in the door as if you were gone 3 days or 3 weeks. They hug and kiss you. They jump all over you. They are all over you like sticky glue. Their tails are going like 747s. So I say to my husband, how come you don't jump all over me and kiss me and wag your tail like that when I come in the door? How come you're not there first? He says, it's easy. The dogs get to you first and I get to you second. So their response is the same. Do they know time? Do they teach us how to be present? You bet they do. They teach us all how to be present. Why? They don't know tomorrow. They let go of yesterday. If they chew up toilet tissue and leave it on the floor and you want to discipline them or correct them, you have to get them in the act, because 10 minutes ago they let it go, they forgot about it. We have to do the same. We have to let go of 10 minutes ago. We have to let go of yesterday. We have to let go of what was. All we have is now. And do they know tomorrow? Heck no. They only know now. And what do? When life throws us curveballs and they lose their sight or they can't walk like they used to, they put their tail up. They teach us how to wag our tails. They teach us how to be resilient, and they teach us how to get rewired. Now, do they know rewired like we know from neuroplasticity? Heck no. But they know how to readapt. They know how to respond. They do. They're amazing animals. What else do they teach us? I have some notes here. I want to make sure I don't want to miss out on any of the most important lessons that I want to share with you. Here's one really big one. Here's the one that took me a long time to figure out. It's grief. No one is going to go through life without loss, pain, failure, or disappointment. It's what we choose to do with it. I had to make some choices. I had to make the choice how not to be defined by what happened in my life. Rather, I had to make a choice in how to choose happiness. I didn't know what that might look like for a long time, but I knew where I didn't want to be. I didn't want to be in a place where I was going to hold on to anger, hatred, and bitterness. Okay. I knew that I had to find another way, and I never lost my faith. So what do our dogs teach us? They leave us. They only live a short period of time. Cats live longer than our doggies do, but it varies. But the bottom line is they don't live long lives like we do. They leave us. Our hearts are ripped out. And so many of us have heard this over and over and over again. I'm never going to open my heart again. I'm never going to get another dog. I'm never getting another kitty cat. Can't do it. Well, I've learned never to say never. Those are powerful words. Why? Life has very little meaning without love. And unless we all learn how to open our hearts again and again and again, whether it's the two-legged variety, we lost a loved one, or we lost our pet, then until we learn how to love again and open our hearts and trust the process, we're going to struggle. So those people who will hold on to anger and pain and guilt will struggle, and they won't find their way as well. They'll flounder. But those people who let it go and learn how to open their hearts again and again are going to find their way. Our pets teach us how to go through grief because we have to. Because we have to. They're preparing us for the big stuff. They're preparing us for when life really throws us against the wall. And I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to segue just for a moment. After our daughter was killed, we had a period of time called Shiva, where we sit for a week, where we invite those in to help us through the healing process. Well, there was a woman that came into our home that I didn't know. I've never seen her before. She came in the front door and she stood there and she took my two hands in her hands and she said, "We don't know each other, but I understand and I do know how you feel." And I said, "Oh." I said, "What do you mean?" She said, "Well, my dog died and I know how you feel." Well, when you're in raw grief and you're in a place that you're spinning and you can't even know if you're breathing or not, those words are not what you want to hear. I felt it was very insensitive. I felt hurt. I felt like I had no words to give back to her. And common sense is not so common and silence speaks volumes. I said nothing. I didn't know what to say. There was nothing to say. And I never saw her again. Well, it took me years and years. It's been 18 years. It took me years to understand that the only love that that woman perhaps had was that dog. Who was I to judge? Her pain. Was it different than mine? I don't know. All I do know is that they teach us how to go through the grieving process because we have to. It's part of living. But they also teach us how to live and how to wag our tails. They teach us how to be present. They teach us how to play, how to be the kid, how to tap into the kid in all of us. When we're all kids, a lot of us grew up where we had bicycles. So we had a chance to ride our bikes. We played ball. We ran around. We went swimming. We were like mini triathletes. We didn't know it then, but we were. Our dogs throw their ball in our lap. They hand us our leash. They go to the door. When we go out the door, they want to go with you. Pay attention to it. Play. So last week, I listened to Marty Seligman, one of the most amazing, I believe, founders, if I may say, of positive psychology, okay, out of UPenn. I've been listening to his TED Talks and YouTube videos. Well, he said something really incredible last week that I want to share with you. It's about play and fun. And it correlates with our pets, whether you have them or not. Here's the deal. He said that having optimism, I'm very, very blessed because I have that DNA optimism threaded through me. It's innate, thank God, because it helped me get through my life. Optimism is wonderful, but guess what is even better in the time of uncertainty? Fun. When you have fun, you're going to be able to navigate and you're going to have a higher sense physiologically of well-being, promoting health. If you're having fun, find fun. We can all find fun. So that's another thing that our dogs teach us. And so I wanted to share that. And it wouldn't be a bad idea at this point in time, maybe in the chat box, if anybody wanted to ask me or tell me how they have fun with their pets or what their pets have taught them. This might be a good time to take that little segue, Caroline.
Great, I'll write it in the chat.
Okay. Before you end, can you tell us? Oh, yes. Thank you, Trish. I will tell the story that I wrote because it talks about miracles. It talks about the power of our dreams, the power of intention, and the depth of spirituality. Our pets are connected innately spiritually. I make a bet a lot of us have periodically, especially those of us who have lost our loved ones, or maybe even another pet, okay? The pet that you currently have, how often do you notice that they sort of get lost in space? Max, we have our current pooch now. Max is 9. He was born May 22nd, the day our daughter was killed. No coincidence. He gets lost. I could be serving up a fillet or one of his favorite, whatever I threw on the grill, and I could say, Max, come. And he could be lost in time, staring into space because he's connected with our daughter, Elizabeth. Understand our pets are connecting with us. They can sniff out, they have acute senses. They can sniff out cancer. They can sniff out your illnesses. The dog that I'm going to tell you the story about in a minute, his name was Aries. He was a standard poodle that came to us through a miracle called a dream. Okay. Well, he had the capability, acute sense of smell. He could sniff out cancer. And the owner that he lived with before we got him, she had lung cancer. And he kept barking and putting his paw on her chest and poking his nose at her chest, pointing to where the cancer was. But she didn't pay attention because she couldn't understand until she ended up in the hospital. And he saved her life. So here's a story that I was humbled and honored to be considered good enough to be in Bernie Siegel's book called Love, Animals, and Miracles. Came out 2 years ago. It is a collaborative collection of stories that people have shared and written that are true about the healing power of pets and the stories that they want to share that connect us all. So, given the fact that I just need you to know I'm no Pulitzer Prize winner, it's 1,000 words. All the stories are short, and when we all have short attention spans, particularly now, they're great to read because they fill your heart and they give us hope. They instill more faith for those that seem to wander off, and they take us to another level, tapping into all human emotions. So here's my story. Well, growing up with standard poodles, it was the breed that we've always had. And we have, I don't know, my husband always felt outgendered, given the fact that he had me, my daughter Elizabeth, and my daughter Leslie a year apart in the house with 2 female poodles. He always felt outgendered, and whenever it was time for a vote, a family vote, we would all raise our hands and he'd say, I got outgendered, this is not fair. One day I'm going to get another set of paws in the house that'll be male. And I'm going to have an extra set of paws and I might win a vote. I might get my way. I said, you're still outvoted. But nonetheless, we'll consider. So that seed was planted a long time ago, years ago. And it was not forgotten. Elizabeth, 3 weeks before she was killed, went to our breeder, who is lovingly regarded as Dr. Poolittle. Okay, her name is Ann Fisher. She breeds, sells, and shows standard poodles and does pet therapy. She's just a remarkable woman and is sought after globally. People wait a year to get her dogs for show or for pet therapy. That being said, Elizabeth, 3 weeks before everything happened, she went to Ann Fisher with Charlie Girl, our big white poodle, to get groomed. Well, she came in the house, she brings the poodle in, and the conversation begins because we had cultivated this relationship with Ann Fisher, who's to this day just remarkable. So Ann Fisher says, oh, Elizabeth, guess what? We have puppies. You want to go see the puppies? Well, she didn't have to finish her sentence. She was already up the stairs into the puppy room, picking up all the puppies on the floor to see which one had boy parts. You know, boy parts, girl parts, they're all different. Well, that was easy. She picked up a little boy, plump. She holds him to her chest and she says, I want this one. She said, I've saved up some money, not enough, but enough to give you a deposit down so I can secure my spot for this puppy. And boy, will daddy be lucky because it's going to be coming up on Father's Day. Won't that be great? Ann Fisher said, I hate to disappoint, but he's spoken for. He's going to go to my friend Bonnie, who's going to use him for pet therapy. So he was the only male. They were all females in the litter. So it was a moot point. She never said anything to us, and there was nothing to be said until later. So this is what happened. So 3 weeks later, our life changes forever. Elizabeth is gone. I'm struggling to breathe, and I am throwing myself into the invisible, intangible world called the spirit world, looking for answers anywhere I can find them. My husband, being an engineer, sees life black and white and threw himself into a physical work, and he just bulldozed our backyard and rebuilt it. So I came to him one day and I said, Bruce, invite Elizabeth into a dream. Well, how do I do that? I said, well, you just open your thoughts, close your eyes, and just invite Elizabeth into a dream, and invite her and ask her to make it real. He said, well, how do I do that? I've never done this. I said, I know, we're all in uncharted territory. Let me help you. So I said, Elizabeth, come to Dad in a dream in the middle of the night. Usually 3 a.m. is that hour that many of us know. And metaphorically speaking, hit him over the head with a frying pan and say, here I am. I am with you and I love you. Make it real. Well, 6-8 months later, 3 a.m., he wakes up in the middle of the night, sits straight up, and he is visibly, physically affected because he had that dream. Elizabeth came to him in the middle of the night, bringing him the puppy she picked out at Ann Fisher's house 3 weeks before she was killed. She was in the backyard that he had just renovated on fresh green grass. She picks up the puppy, puts him on the grass. Puppy goes to Bruce. He picks up the puppy. They hold each other, Elizabeth, the three of them, they hold each other. They share words of love. And she says, Daddy, it's a gift of love from me to you. And when your life changes, and I promise you it will, he will land in your lap. Well, he couldn't go back to sleep because it was that real, really, really powerful, profound. Well, he said, what do we do now? Do we get 3 dogs? I said, no, let's just trust the process. And that's another message that I want to share. Just trust the process. Well, a few months later, my mother's health was failing. We had to fly to Florida. We had to board the dogs. And it was the week of March 15th, which was the week everybody takes on vacation. So everybody boarded their dogs with Ann Fisher. So there were oodles of poodles running around our house. And it was mayhem. It was crazy. So we had to pick up our 2 poochies. And there had to be 15 standard poodles running around, barking crazy. So excited to have company. Well, with one whistle and the clap of a hand, they all came to a dead halt, stopped still in their tracks, sat on command, very much in a line. Do you remember the movie The Sound of Music, where all the kids, where he blew the whistle? It was really something. The captain, right? Christopher Plummer blew the whistle. All the kids sat, stood up, didn't move. Well, the dogs did the same. That's how disciplined they are trained. They didn't move, except for one. One dog would not listen. And he ran and he ran and he ran. And he jumped into Bruce's lap, put his 2 paws on his shoulders, and the dog began to cry from his gut, this guttural crying. My husband, who's more reserved than most, doesn't generally show his feelings, began to cry. They held each other and they were crying together. Ann Fisher began to cry, and I can't understand what's going on. I said, what is happening here? What is going on? The emotions were palpable. She said, I should have told you. I never did, but it's validated. I'll never question this ever again. And I should have told you. I said, told us what? I never told you that 3 weeks before Elizabeth was killed, she came to me and picked out a puppy. She couldn't have the puppy because the puppy went to another woman to be pet therapy dog. Well, she went through a divorce. She met someone new that got jealous of the dog, and she gave the dog back to me yesterday to put up for adoption. And that dog that Elizabeth chose 3 weeks before she was killed, the same dog that came to Bruce in a dream, was now in my husband's lap. Now, the power of dreams. There is a quote that I like to use, which is the title of the story that I wrote. It's called The Bridges Love. There is a very famous author, and there is a book, and it's written by Thornton Wilder. The book is called The Bridges of San Luis. And it was the book that Bernie Siegel recommended that I read, particularly the last paragraph or two, because the quote in there, if I may blunder upon it a little bit, love is eternal. There's a bridge that exists between the land of the living and the land of the dead. And that bridge is love. Love is eternal. Never question it. Well, that came to be. And those are the words that I have lived by my life. And they became more and more profound because I was living it. I gave my husband the hope and the faith that dreams can come true and there are miracles. And our pets come to us in ways that one can't even imagine. Now, even if you don't have a pet, let me tell you what has happened to me on many, many occasions, because I walk every day. And that's the promise that I've made myself, particularly through this pandemic. Every day I walk. And dollars to donuts, every day there is a cardinal, there's a deer, there's an animal that will come out and present. And if you quiet your mind and unplug, that's the key, unplug, pay attention to the lessons and the gifts and the miracles all around us. We all see them. We need to just take the pause and pay attention, because even if you don't have a pet, they're all outside. We can all tap into all of that. So we have that. So thank you, Trish, for remembering to ask me that, because that's a powerful story that we all need to hear and trust that at the end of the day, love is all that matters. Gratitude. They teach us, our pets teach us how to be grateful for what we have, with understanding that the connections. I start my day out with being grateful for what I do have, not what I don't have, and what I can do and not what I can't. One of our dogs, Charlie Girl, the dog that I told you about earlier, she went blind. She got confused. She struggled for a few days in that place of being unsettled. And it didn't take long, and her tail went right up again. She figured out how to basically tap into the other senses that she has, the acute senses of being able to sniff her way and hear her way, even though she can't see. They teach us how to look at what we can do, that's not what we can't, through gratitude. And that helps us through finding happiness. Look at what we have. Look what we can do. Look what we're learning about ourselves and all those that are around us. Now, you know, another thing, for those that do have a pet that they can walk, I know this is kind of funny, but you know, we're supposed to social distance. Dogs don't social distance. They kind of like go over to whatever pooch is there and they sniff their butts. Well, we can't do that. We would get arrested, right? But we can certainly take our pets for walks, and they're teaching us basically how to connect with other people. A lot of people that are single are wondering, you know, how are we going to date through this pandemic? My goodness, I mean, we all look like we're, you know, behind a mask, and you know, there's no intimacy, yet you can connect if you take your poochie for a walk, and you can connect with other people, because right now we may be in a pandemic, but there is an epidemic, a growing epidemic of loneliness. My speaker last weekend at my happiness club was a very fine gentleman who I hold in high regard. His name is Brent Robertson, and he runs a group called Fathom. And his topic, which he speaks all over, is the epidemic of loneliness. And it's a really big concern that's growing in our country, in our world, globally. And one of the things that we can do is connect with other people. And if we don't have a pet, foster one. If you're not sure you want one permanently, you could foster. But here's the thing. A lot of the animal shelters, I understand, don't have any left. They're coming from all over the country from different circumstances so that people can adopt and foster so that they can have company. The other thing that our pets teach us is, or give us as a gift that we don't figure out for a while, is meaning and purpose. For those people that live alone, that are isolated, that don't have a pet, now have a restored, renewed meaning and purpose in their lives because they're needed. If you're needed, you'll live longer, right? You live longer. We have a heightened sense of well-being. And my goodness, we all want to feel needed. We all need meaning and purpose. And my goodness, we can't live without love. So how about if we put something else in the chat box now for any other comments? I haven't, are there any questions at this point in time, or any comments anybody would like to share? Every day with destination is a good day. Thank you.
We have also some stories. My dog is 13, and so fun isn't exactly puppy energy, but he has taught me that during hard times now, unconditional love has helped me hold on to hope. And then Lisa says that she's been feeding the birds and squirrels in the park, and love grows. Now they wait for me. They eat from my hands and will hop on my thigh to let me know they are ready. Only did this because my biscuits and bath volunteer job was disallowed to do due to COVID restrictions. My mantra and model has always been, be grateful for what I have. I do not even think about what I don't have. I'm a blessed person. And then Ilana says, my dog fills my heart with love, and I feel blessed for him to be with our family. He is our companion and guardian. He pushes us to go out and walk. He makes us play with him. It's all love. And for me, I had my first dog when I got married. My husband had had dogs, and we waited a long time. We looked at all different kinds of dogs, and we dreamt about what our first dog would be. And then we wound up getting a black lab. And when he was about 6 years old, he got very sick. He got Lyme disease. And what he taught me was about death. He was the first person that I was close to that passed away, which is kind of unusual to be an adult, but and not know anyone that had passed away. My grandparents were all alive at that time. And I watched him, and what I realized was the body got very heavy. It was too heavy for his beautiful spirit.
Yeah. And
death set him free. And so that was a beautiful lesson for me. And I think that they also teach us in living they're so happy every time they see us. And I think to myself, we talk about that with kids, right? We talk about that with kids. The things that they want to see us do is just when they walk in the room that we light up when we see them. And I have my niece living with me, and and my husband too. And I try to make that attempt that when I see them, when they walk in the room, that I do what my dog does and say, hey, nice to see you.
You wag your tail.
I wag my tail, yeah, in some respects, absolutely.
Wouldn't it be interesting if we had a tail? Just imagine if we had a tail. No one could really fake who they really are, right? because dogs don't know how to lie. They don't know judgment. They wag their tails, or if they're afraid, it's down. So you know exactly how they're feeling. Imagine if we all had to really just be authentic and not put on, this incognito face, and just behave a lot like they do. Oh, there's one other thing I have to share with you, because it took me a while to figure this out. Every morning you get up in the morning, God willing, before you even get your feet out of bed, if you have a dog or a cat and they're with you in your bed, as many of us do, my doggy hops out first, and what does he do? Downward facing dog. The cats and the dogs, we're supposed to do that too. We're supposed to get up and stretch, right? Do like your doggy. Get up, you do the stretch, wag your tail, and just be happy. Go play, go have fun, just be loving. And I think if a lot of people just pay a little bit more attention, take that pause, take those pauses, I think your life would be very enriched, and I think we'd be all navigating through these times together at another level. Another thing, there are a few little quotes that many of us from Whole Being remember, that we live by, and appreciate the good, because the good appreciates. 2, never say never. I've learned to eat my words. Never say never. And another thing is to understand that our life has little meaning without love, and that with a renewed sense of gratitude, meaning, and purpose, and how much fun we put in our lives, we can wag our tails no matter what. Connect with people. Reach out to that one person that is lonely. I'm going to give you an assignment. I'm going to give you all a challenge. It was given to me as part of a graduate assignment, but I give this to kids in elementary school, so you don't need to have a graduate degree to do this assignment. It could be for any age, anytime, anywhere, wherever you are. So the assignment that Bernie gave me was an assignment that apparently I'd been doing it my whole life, but I didn't do it as an assignment or an intention. It was just something innately that I did. So the assignment was to seek out in society that one person nobody else will sit next to. Find out what their wounds are and share your own. You could save a life. You could make a difference. Dogs do this. Our cats oftentimes do this, even though they're wired differently than dogs. They will sniff out that one person that nobody else will sit next to. They can sniff out your pain. They can sniff out your struggles. They can sniff and smell out your illnesses. Sit down next to whoever that person is. And even if you can't find those right words, just say, my name is Audrey. How are you today? What's going on? What's happening? What was the best part of your day? And another thing that we can all do, because we all have somebody somewhere in our lives, it's unavoidable, that we wish we could almost vote off the island. We all have that person. Or we work with someone or know someone that we can only take a little bit, like little doses. And sometimes we don't have the right words, or we not have the right words we should be using. What we should do is, as difficult as it may be, if we're in a circumstance that you want to use the wrong language, as difficult as this might be, Bernie tells me to say to that person, I love you. For those that cannot say I love you, you know what you can do? You are so loved. Now, you're not saying you love them, but without love, we're not going to make it through this world. So I suggest that you pay attention to how our pets seek out those people. Do the same. And if you can't find those right words, be the listener, or just be that person with a smile. It's really hard now with a mask. So you have to smile with your eyes. But I think the key is to connect with as many people as you can, particularly all of us know people that are in isolation. And rather than say isolation, you know what I'm saying, in this pandemic? I'm enjoying my solitude. I am. I'm enjoying my solitude. I have to say, I just recently, I don't like to use the word retired. Rather, I say I'm refiring my life in a new direction. I'm enjoying doing more speaking engagements. I'm enjoying more music. I'm walking every day. I'm connecting with people at longer times. I'm really enjoying friendships and new people that I'm meeting, particularly today. So I don't know how much time we have left. I'm just looking for questions. My goodness, I've been going on.
We have a few questions.
Okay.
One is beautiful story and presentation. Thank you so much. Can you talk a little more about Seligman and the importance of play and fun and how that works exactly when he was talking about that?
I would love to elaborate, because I would recommend that whoever's asking that it's a YouTube video that I just listened to this weekend. And he talked a lot about the studies on cognitive therapy and positive psychology and rewiring the brain and understanding that we have learned helplessness and we have learned hopefulness and we also have optimism. And he said during this time of the pandemic, the studies that he's learned on a physiological level really zeroed in, truly distilled it right down to the fact that what is going to get us through the most out of all of those is having fun. Have fun. Just go outside, have fun, do whatever it takes to have fun. So all the statistics and the numbers and the specifics, if I may, I don't have in front of me, but it's on his YouTube video. And what I extracted from that was, no matter how optimistic you are and you look at life with hope and you believe we're all going to be okay, what's going to help you the most is having fun. I don't know if that helped.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to say, I'm going to have a fundraiser today. And I actually have a buddy of mine, and we're dedicated to fundraising, right? Usually it's fundraising, but we say, okay, what did you do for fun today? And we text each other back and forth so that we're not working all the time. And I also have a little, because in positive psychology, we talk about these little increments of change. Can I be 2% happier? Can I be 3% more grateful? Can I do these in little increments, and how important that is over the long term? Can I look at each day? Maria Serrois, of course, says, can I take one meaningful thing and take note of it every single day? Because in every day there is the swamp and the pond, right? And every day there is something that is meaningful. And by doing that, I'm training my brain not only to look for the good, but I'm training my brain to say that my daily life matters. And then over time, my life matters. And that even longer, that I matter. And this is developing in us a sense of self-regard and self-respect and self-love that can be a foundation. And what is it? It's just one moment. It's just a micro moment, as Barbara Fredrickson talks about, right, Audrey? And I wonder if you can tell us, I know you have your pets, but what are your little habits that you have to ensure those micro moments of positivity in your day?
That's a wonderful question, and I'm glad that you asked, because it was taught to me a number of years ago after our lives fell apart, how I was going to get out of bed and just do an elementary thing like brush my teeth and be able to just breathe. So a very famous rabbi who lived to be in his hundreds, who was a Holocaust survivor and tells the story very much, his story was just like Viktor Frankl. If I'm alive, what's my meaning? What's my purpose? And he came to me after everything happened because I couldn't breathe and I didn't know how I was going to move forward. And he said to me, there's this place that we all know. Before we transition to that place of awareness that we're alive, that place where we're in deep sleep, And we have that sense awareness that we wake up. So you wake up, you're aware you're alive. You haven't swallowed, you haven't opened your eyes, you haven't moved. It's just a thought. At that moment, say whatever words you need to say thank you. Start with gratitude. Gratitude will pave the way for the day for happiness. You pave the way with looking at what you have. I'm alive. If I'm alive, right there, I mean, Bernie says, until you're dead, don't act like you're dying. I'm alive. What am I going to do? What do you want from me today? I ask a higher power, God. What I do next is this. After I say whatever it is I'm grateful for, again, I haven't swallowed, I haven't moved, I am just breathing. And what I'm doing is I'm breathing in to the count of 6, love. I start out with love. This is what he taught me. He said, breathe in to the count of 6, love, down to your toes, and breathe it out. Because somewhere in this world, because we're all connected with the air that we take in and breathe out, we're all connected with that same breath of air. Somewhere out there, there's somebody that has no one to love them. And your first thing, before you even get out of bed, you haven't even opened your eyes, and you're breathing out love to somebody, you've already done a wonderful thing. That being said, you're going to continue to breathe into the count of 6. You're going to learn for the rest of your life how to breathe in what you need and breathe out what you need to get rid of. Breathe in strength, breathe in resilience, breathe in calm, breathe in whatever you need, whatever it is you need for that day. Take it further. After you get that down, and it takes what? How many repetitions to create a learned behavior? God knows. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to forecast your day, the power of intention. You're going to, your eyes are still shut. You're going to look at what your day could project to be. You're going to start to attach an emotion to your breath. You're going to breathe in what you need for that point of the day, at work or at play or with a loved one, whatever you need. You're going to breathe in what you need, and you're going to breathe out what you need to get rid of. That's how I start my day. Okay? It starts out with gratitude. I end the day, and during the course of the day, whoever I meet, those that know me, I say, what was the best part of your day up until now? And it forces you to look at the best part of your day. What else do? I walk no less than 5 miles a day. I also believe that my meditation is, my definition for my meditation is whatever I do where I get lost in time. Whatever you do where you get lost in time is where you need to be no less than 10% of the day. For me, it can be music. I play piano. I get lost in my music. I can get lost in a book. I can get lost in a conversation. I don't try to make goals. I try to make promises to myself, because no one's going to know me better than me. I live my life with gratitude, and I live my life with unshakable faith. I have never blamed God for anything that has happened in my life. It's called life. God merely redirected me, and I had to choose how not to be defined by what happened, but to redefine my life and surround myself with those that help me grow, who love me, who are non-judgmental, and those people that do not, I learn from them. We are challenged. So music and walking and exercise and fun and the connections and family, I have to say, my life is pretty full. And if I'm this happy in a pandemic, when the restrictions lift, my goodness, it's going to be great. So thank you for that question.
Thank you. And thank you for spending the afternoon with us on this Lunch and Learn. One of your strengths must be loving kindness, because you have been so kind to share from your heart.
Thank you.
I'm deeply moved. Everyone, take care of yourselves. Know that may you be safe, may you be healthy, may you experience happiness, and may you know love.
Thank you.
We'll see you next time. Audrey, thank you.
My pleasure. Thank you, everybody.
Take care, everyone.